Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bitter Pill. Sorry about the false alarm a few minutes ago. This interface is not very intuitive, and I've only done this once before, and I was getting started, and my girlfriend, not realizing I was doing that, came in and interrupted me, so I am starting over. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about tonight was what I'm sure has been on everybody's minds, and maybe you're, well, if you're watching this, you're not watching what I'm going to talk about, which is the Democratic convention. And just, I'm not going to watch it, but that's not going to stop me from commenting on it, because I just wanted to say a little bit about who the speakers are and are not, and what that says about the Democratic Party and the Democratic convention. So notice who's not speaking. Tulsi Gabbard. She is one of 7 candidates who earned delegates during the presidential primary. And it's been a tradition going back many decades that anybody who runs in the Democratic primaries and earns delegates gets a speaking slot at the Democratic convention where they nominate the presidential candidate. But Tulsi Gabbard is not, and as you might guess, the other 6 candidates who earned delegates during the primary, obviously Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, let's see who else, Pete Buttigieg, Andrew Yang didn't, but he's speaking. Anyway, all 7, Elizabeth Warren, all of the others who earned delegates are speaking at the convention, as well as several candidates or non-candidates who are not speaking, which also includes 4 Republicans tonight speaking at the Democratic Party convention, including one 2016 presidential election candidate in the Republican primaries, John Kasich, Democrat from Ohio. He's speaking, Republican from Ohio. 2016 Republican presidential candidate speaking at the Democratic Party convention, whereas Tulsi Gabbard, who actually earned delegates in the Democratic presidential primaries, was one of 3 candidates left toward the end, has not been offered a speaking slot. Who else is speaking at the Democratic convention? Well, Bill Clinton. What do we know about Bill Clinton? Well, he is known to be a sexual predator. He's been to Jeffrey Epstein's island in the Caribbean, has flown on the Lolita Express 26 times, has been accused of various sorts of sexual misconduct by multiple women. And I'm not talking about Monica Lewinsky here, but several other women have accused Bill Clinton actually of non-consensual sexual activities, including one accusation of rape. And of course, Joe Biden, the nominee, has been credibly accused of rape by Tara Reade, as well as multiple other accusations of various sorts of sexual harassment or groping, as well as a couple of other accusations of sexual assault. He's a nominee. So where does Me Too movement go that the Democrats were so gung-ho about when Brett Kavanaugh was nominated for the Supreme Court a couple of years ago? Where did it go? Where is this Me Too movement that went after Democratic Senator Al Franken, who his conduct toward women was certainly questionable. He was accused of groping a number of women. Wasn't accused of raping anybody. But here we are in 2020, and a man accused of rape is our nominee. Another man accused of rape is speaking at the Democratic convention. So I think that who is or isn't speaking at the Democratic Party's convention really pretty much says it all about who the Democratic Party is, what their principles or lack thereof are. Just going back to who isn't speaking, Gabbard, she's the one candidate who spoke out against the arrest of Julian Assange on the day that it happened. Tulsi Gabbard is the one candidate who spoke out unequivocally against U.S. intervention in Venezuela, where the U.S. was backing a band of thugs led by Juan Guaido, who nobody in Venezuela really, other than the folks in his group, had heard of until the U.S. Encouraged him to declare himself president. Bernie Sanders, for example, although he opposed U.S. intervention in Venezuela, was gung-ho about criticizing the Venezuelan government in the typical Cold War fashion. Tulsi Gabbard also didn't buy into the Russiagate narrative. The other candidates all did. Tulsi Gabbard is the only Democratic presidential candidate who spoke out against Donald Trump's military occupation of Syria and stealing Syria's oil. Just in general, was, other than Mike Gravel, who wasn't really planning on doing a serious run for the Democratic nomination, but wanted to do a sort of protest campaign, but was kept out of the debates by the DNC despite receiving enough independent contributions to qualify. Other than him, Tulsi Gabbard is the only person in the race who took a very strong stance against U.S. interventions abroad. Granted, there are problems with Tulsi. She did eventually wind up endorsing Joe Biden, although she hasn't campaigned for him. Her stance on the Israel-Palestine question, could be better. She's opposed to BDS, and just not the strongest stance you can have, although she's spoken out against some of Israel's human rights violations. But overall, especially in terms of foreign policy, she was the most progressive candidate in the Democratic primaries. And therefore, the DNC has kept her out of a speaking slot at the convention, which she spoke at in 2012 before she was even a nominee. And then, on the other hand, look at who is speaking. Several Republicans and every other Democratic candidate in the primaries who got delegates, as well as several who didn't. And several other prominent Democrats. Okay, well, that's really all I wanted to say, but just something to think about while you're not watching the Democratic convention.